What's your name?
Kathleen. Well, that was not mine. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something.
That was just the world. You know, you didn't think about where your kids are at. You don't do them. Good afternoon. In a safe spot, small town.
Yeah, they only live just a couple blocks from the city, so they
I appreciate that. I'm over from Onega.
Oh, well, you're not too
Right?
far.
Not very far at all. So
Not very far.
I haven't spent much time over here yet, so I wanted to come over and see what was going on. We were over here. I'm with the hospital. Community hospital.
Oh, you're a competition.
John Pitt. Okay, John Pitson.
Marilyn Watkins.
Marilyn Watkins. Well, I'd like to figure out how we can become more collaborative.
Well, we tried that once, didn't we?
Well, I wasn't around for it.
I wasn't either, but I remember about when we built the clinic in Holton that those doctors were going to get something.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's scary. I might. Very good. But
I've had some conversations with Carrie.
Have you?
That's who I am.
But I remember when they built it, they talked to Holton about Dr. privileges and.
I'm fine. I'm just here to record. I'm not
You're
in
the
any rush.
opposite over from, so there's always 3 stories.
I know.
Both sides and somewhere in the middle, so.
Somewhere in the middle. Right. Right.
So,
Okay, well, that's interesting. Have you already got it on the site? Good.
And then turn around saying,
If there's any other questions or anything you want to discuss,
they don't like that.
hey, should we start the discussion a little bit?
Hi, Mary. I want to say hi. Hi. I wasn't so
Yeah.
Well, I can move from your way.
No, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, good to see you too.
I'm just wondering why you have to be behind me.
All right, I'd like to thank you all for coming out for this. You know, the goal of all these is to really be transparent and to give as much information as we can regarding the development of these projects and what to expect.
But if you want to hide, that's
And
fine.
to answer any questions there are. For those who don't know me, a little brief introduction on myself. My name is Angelo Perone. I'm a developer on the project, or the proposed project, Jeffrey Solar.
Small.
Last name.
You want me to wave?
Yeah, yes, I would.
There you go.
Got it.
West Army in 2016. At West Point, I was a field artillery officer. I've been stationed in Oklahoma over at Fort Sill. I went up to Fort Lewis in Washington, and then I finished out my time with the 82nd Airborne in North Carolina. Following that, a 8-year stint, I got a job at NextEra, and so now I'm working on developing, hopefully, energy systems that can help, you know, solidify the U.S. grid and make us a little bit energy independent. I have a daughter, newborn. Well, not newborn anymore. Time flies. She's about to be 9 months. Her name's Addie. And my wife Megan. We live down in Florida now, so I feel like we've hit every corner of the country now, and we found our way to Florida. But obviously, with NextEra, I'm on the Kansas late stage team, so I come out here for work. And today, what we're really going to talk about is I want to go through the agreement setup of what the county can expect if a project goes forward. And I say if because we're not saying this is definitely going to happen, that it's a sure thing. There's a lot of pieces that have to fall into place. The overarching one being the regulations. So obviously, we're going to let the county commissioners do what they have to do and do their diligence and draft good regs for the county in terms of development. It's important. And so we're going to let them handle that process. Once we get finalized regulations, we'll have a better idea of where we're at. Can we operate within the constraints of the zoning regulations, and how we can build this project and make this still viable. But following that, that's when we would look to go into the negotiations for what we call simple agreements. So typically it would include a road use agreement, a development agreement, a decommissioning agreement, and then a contribution agreement. Being that the county is drafting regulations currently, the development agreements, it's kind of just, it's going to reaffirm that we stay within what was pushed out of the regulations. It's not maybe anything else that was added to it. So really what we would be focusing on, so I'll start with the road use agreement. Obviously a big concern with a major project within an area is, all right, what's going to happen to the roads? You guys are going to be using these roads, you're going to have to make improvements. Construction with heavy equipment, you guys gonna just leave this place trashed afterwards? Not sure that's why we have this. That's why this agreement binds us in. So what we'll look to do is post either a bond or a parent guarantee. I've seen in other counties kind of a financial commitment to not only the end of the construction work, but also the entire duration of it. And so when we're doing work on these projects, it's not, okay, come in guns a-blazing, we're going to just construct it all and assess the damage after. Road improvements have to happen during the process. We need to improve a turning radii. We need to improve a culvert or lay down some kind of foundation that would allow us to bring in certain equipment. We'll do that ahead of time. We'll do that in conjunction with the construction itself. and that would be on NextEra's expense. That wouldn't be on the county or anything like that. What we also do is, so prior to that construction, there's going to be a pre-construction inventory. And so that could be the county elects a preferred engineer, and they'll work with us, and we say, okay, this is our haul route we'd like to use for county roads. We have our separate requirements with KDOT and any state roads. But for the county roads, we submit our haul route, and it has to get approved by the Road and Bridges Director, typically, but with the commissioners. So once that's approved, we say, okay, we're going to do pre-construction inventory on these roads. We usually, it can be video, it can, video, a mix of pictures, descriptions, all that of what the roads are prior to us actually bringing in equipment and breaking through. Then, once it's taken its process and the construction has occurred, we will do a post-construction inventory. Same kind of setup, engineer working with us from the county. And also another thing to bring up with the county engineer, whoever they elect to go with, that can be at NextEra's expense. That would be an added addition to the county in terms of expense. So following that, do a post-construction inventory. We reassess the roads, where they're at now, and then we will agree to either bring them back to the standard of condition they were supposed to be prior, or better. We won't go below that. So that agreement, what it's really doing, that bond and that parent guarantee, that's what it's placed in. It's not like we could say, well, it was just a handshake deal, see you later. We don't agree with that. It holds us accountable to whatever we're building and whatever we're planning to do. So I want that understood. It's really a security for the county itself to say, hey, we're in this, we understand that these projects bring a lot with them, and we're willing to not only mitigate, but even make better. So that covers the road use agreement. Then we'll look at decommissioning. I know decommissioning comes up all the time. And it's tough because obviously, for the 24 years of operational projects the NextEra's had, we haven't really hit that point where it's like, okay, hey, we're going to decommission this thing. Typically, counties want to repower, which I think is a testament to the relationships we hold with counties that we do partake in and develop in. But regardless, we'll have a full-on decommissioning agreement orchestrated with the county as another additional security for them. And so what that's going to look like is another bond or guarantee or letter of credit that's posted by NextEra. And that will also be updated throughout. So we understand the time value of money. Yeah, upfront, whatever we post this amount, maybe that doesn't cover it later on. We understand that. We're going to work with that. That's fine. That's going to be a but really what it's going to hold us accountable for is if for whatever reason the county elects at the life cycle of the project's over, you guys are like, this didn't work out the way we wanted to, or even it was okay, but we want to go in a different direction. We'd like you to decommission it. This agreement holds our foot to the fire and says, okay, cool, now come in and do what you said you were going to do. And so at that point, we would remove all assets of that project and restore the land to the condition it was prior or better. Same kind of description as with the road use agreement with the roads. And so that added security, I think, is, it's why we do it. We understand that it can be a concern for people. And, another thing that comes up is like, well, how do we know you're going to be around in 20 years? I think you have to look at the status of the company and how efficient they've been over their entire lifetime. NextEra survived every kind of scenario you can imagine, different administrations, different economic patterns, recessions. They've been around. And part of it, we're a construction company. While solar is what we're looking to build here, hopefully, we also have a wide portfolio. We've had nuclear, we've had wind, we've had everything. So, and even natural gas is kicking in. So, I think what I'm trying to get at with this decommissioning agreement, I think you can have faith with the company, the status of the company, the largest renewable developer in the country. We have a good track record across multiple different scenarios, regardless of the economy, regardless of what the cultural norms are going to, regardless of what administration's in, we've done well. And I think that's something that needs to be taken into account. And even with that, we're willing to put it on paper, we're willing to get that agreement negotiated with the county and give them that further security and sense of I guess, trust with NextEra to any of it that day comes. The last one I want to talk about is the contribution agreement. So some people would know this as people say it's a pilot, but the reason we call it a contribution agreement is because when it comes to the taxes that we will pay, any energy producer, any developer, doesn't matter if it's solar, oil, it doesn't matter. There's a 10-year exemption on property tax for the first 10 years. It just is what it is. However, we still pay real estate tax. That doesn't change for the first 10 years, is said. But as an act of good faith and understanding of that, to offset what would have been coming in as a property tax, we look to orchestrate this contribution agreement with the local county. And so, for instance, what this could look like is, I've seen structures of, hey, for every megawatt you build, $1,000 annually to the county for that. Just as an example. The amount can fluctuate, it can be negotiated higher or whatever. But what this does is, those lump sums on a yearly basis for the first 10 years go directly to the county to use for whatever they want to use it for. It doesn't have to pass through different tax jurisdictions. It's completely at the use of the county. And so if there's projects they want to knock out, this is going to cost a lot. Maybe it's an infrastructure related task. Maybe it's, I don't know, sewage, anything like that. You think of it, these items that can put a burden on the local taxpayer, that can put a burden on the local community to improve, that's now a fund that can be pulled from and used for that. I've also seen in areas where the county elects to direct it specifically towards certain entities. And so there was one county that they were very focused on school systems. They had multiple school systems there. We were negotiating and they said, hey, you know what, we want to distribute this, if you can, to each of these 4 different school districts. You'll work with their point of contact, route it directly to them. No problem. All right. We just orchestrate those deals how the county wants, and then you can go forward. It's a pretty good sum of money to put towards any initiatives they may have with the county, and it's takes it off the taxpayers and whoever would do it from that. Covered contribution, road use, decommissioning. That's kind of the high level. Are there any questions? I know that was a lot of information.
When you're talking about the contribution you're going to make and the 10-year exemption, so the land, are you owning all this land or you're leasing it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that landowner is not paying any tax on that land. You're paying it through contribution, or are they
Follows,
still paying?
no, so the tax part of that, the actual property tax that would come with that, that doesn't fall on the landowner, we inherit that. So anywhere our infrastructure is taken up, we're taking on that tax. Because it gets
for the
free-
life of
it
it,
gets
or just
free.
10 years?
No, for the life, because so that 10-year period is just because of the exemption for any kind of energy producer. It's the property tax.
Okay, so then what are you doing after the 10 years?
We take that. It's just the contribution agreement was kind of to provide that buffer for that.
But it's going to be for the life of the project?
And we're already paying the real estate tax going forward from day one.
Then I have, well, mind of, how many years have you actually been in business as NextEra?
I'll be going on 2 years.
The company, how many years?
Oh, NextEra, I'll be over 20 years.
And how many different shell companies that they use over that 20-year period?
Shell companies.
Yeah, how many other groups have come in with them, come and gone? Any?
I'm not really sure where that is going. Are you talking?
No, investors. How many different investors have you had that's in the top management of the course, time that you've been in business?
I'm not entirely sure of that number. I wouldn't know.
And in that period that you guys have been in business, have you decommissioned any projects, wind, solar, nuclear projects? natural gas projects? Have you had to decommission any of those projects?
No, I pointed that out with the decommissioning, and I understand it's like, hey, you know, we haven't seen it yet where it's like, we want you to decommission it, but I really do think it's been a testament of how we've handled becoming a part of the areas. We really do internalize, trying to be good members, trying to contribute to the local area. And because of that, we've typically seen people just say, hey, we'd actually like to work on this.
What's the life of a solar project like this?
30 years.
30 years. And on the road and bridge side, how do you hold those funds in escrow? Is that a
We'll post.
major fiduciary or?
We would post, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the county commissioners would have to acknowledge it too. So if they're not okay with who we're going through or what, they say, no, I don't like that.
Okay.
What kind of sureties and guarantees are you gonna give adjoining, abutting resident property owners, like you're giving the county, if they lose property value? Or if, say, a tornado comes through there and they get glass all over their property, what kind of sureties and guarantees are you gonna give them?
Yeah, so okay, so I'll break that down. In terms of the property value, I know we talked earlier, I'm gonna have to look into that, and I'll provide you, you know, what I can find on that. From what I know is that it didn't affect the values. I'll look into it though. And another aspect of that, there's typically, you know, as we're developing the project, when we're doing our survey work and we can see, you know, decibel level grades and whatever else comes from it, if there was anything in violation of the non-participating landowner, we would look to go and reach an agreement or so, or, you know, some kind of agreement to move forward with it, or we would not build to that constraint, I guess. You know, we would move on. From the standpoint of you have like an act of nature, a tornado or something, we would go completely. That's not even, we would address the area. You wouldn't have to worry about anything with that. We would actually come in, and honestly, it's a part of, I don't think the commissioners would let us off the hook with all our materials shooting all over the place. So we have a good track record with that as well. We have had instances, say for when a wind turbine's been hit by a tornado. We're out there. We have a very good control center back in Juneau, and that basically gives alerts. We know when stuff is happening, we react quickly. We have an operations team that will be local, and they'll address the situation as well. We take that very seriously.
Including adjacent property owners that aren't leaseholders.
Absolutely.
Okay, so is NextEra willing to sign an agreement with adjacent property owners that are not leasers, that they will reimburse them for any property value loss if that does happen?
So you're saying scenario, say a tornado hits, boom, we'll
No.
reach an agreement with you about.
No, if the 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 acre solar thing is up and all the resident landowners who actually live there and their property values go in half, is NextEra gonna reimburse them that money?
I can't speak on that because I haven't seen the scenario of that playing out like that. Like I said, I'll look into it. If values do actually go down, then.
So there's not gonna be a guarantee or a surety for that?
No, there can be. I need to be able to do my diligence on it too. I can't just blanket sign anything. For instance, like even so, you were saying like the tornado. Say something crazy happens, panels get destroyed, and ends up on your property. If what you want as a non-participating landowner is on paper agreement that says like, hey, if this happens, like, you know, I want you guys to come in and restore it to how it was, and do your part and actually clean up on it. 'Cause, you know, for whatever reason, we would do that either way. But if that's something you wanted, I'd be happy to negotiate.
Can you put money in escrow to pay my attorney fees when NextEra doesn't come and clean it up?
Well, we would come to clean it up. I don't think you're making an assumption that.
I'm
It's not.
hypothetical.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we're dancing around it. If something were to happen with the panels and it ends up disturbing your property in any way, we're gonna come clean.
What guarantees that?
What's that?
What guarantees that?
Could be the agreements with the county once we negotiate them. It could be part of, I don't know, if they draft the regulations or if we do a development agreement further onto it, you can list that, hey, you know, in the event of any acts of nature or force majeure, like, you know, can we get a guarantee they will come out and clean up?
Can you have an agreement with the county that the adjacent property owners that do not have leases can be reimbursed their property value loss?
I don't know the answer to that.
How would you determine?
Yeah, I don't.
You would have to go by local property values per square footage or whatever, and what this property is worth because they're not by solar, and what this property is worth because it is by solar.
You would have to carry liability.
Yeah, but I don't understand how that would be. Yeah, I don't.
Well, so you put a farm up next to my house, and now I can't sell now, but I can sell in 3 years. And my $100,000 house is now worth $20,000. I'm still paying taxes, property taxes on $100,000. I guarantee you that didn't go down. But now I can't realize the value of my property because you put your solar farm next to me.
Could you show me an example of that, though? I honestly, like,
Well,
if you
I
have
can't tell
examples
you-
of property values tanking like that, I'd like to see it.
In the last 2 weeks, I've had a conversation with somebody who was thinking about selling, and they said, "Oh, we already can't get what we want for our property because there's a threat of a solar farm next door."
I'm not aware of that. I can look into it though, and
Well, yeah, we get a whole lot of, there's been a whole lot of, we're gonna look into that.
May I say
Sound like the
something?
HR guy.
May I say something to your question?
Yes.
Have you ever attended the county planning commission that meets across the street?
Several occasions,
Yeah. okay.
monthly, yeah.
And I know you can't ask questions there, but my husband and I were there, and we were very impressed with how they are going line by line through this agreement, and that there's several landowners involved with at different ages, and they are really researching this and taking their time before they bring back what their recommendation is to the three county commissioners. And I was, you know, if you sit there and you listen, I know it's hard to not ask questions, because I like to do that too. But
And I don't
they are
think
really being extensive work on going line by line.
I was there on several occasions, these planning meetings. What you can't do, you said that there are many landowners represented, but then you, at the same breath, you said they can't say anything. How are they being
No,
represented?
no. I said the people in the audience cannot ask any questions.
Right.
The people that are on the planning commission.
Those elected officials on the planning committee?
They were not elected,
Ah,
they were
okay.
appointed. They were appointed.
And how many were appointed in the last 3 months?
I don't know the answer to that. And stuff, but anyway, they're just citizens just like you guys and everything. You could have been on it too, probably, if you would have requested or something like that. But they can talk amongst themselves, but the audience can't say anything. But I thought they, you know, they're very patient because they're going through it line by line. Just a comment.
I did put my name in for this, and it's kind of a handpicked deal. We talked about it.
Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No, it's
but
fine. I understand your concern, and I'll look into it. You know, if you have my card, reach out.
So you answering me like that gives me the impression that you never had that agreement with adjacent property owners.
Personally, I
Agreed.
have not. Personally, I have not, but I'm also, our projects, the lifespan of developing a project could take 5 years. You know, I'm almost 2 years at the company, so I haven't been in that situation yet. And I don't want to give you an answer that's wrong. You know, I'm really not trying to be disrespectful or anything. It's just, if I don't know right now, I don't know. So, but I will look into it.
So in these leases that you're getting with the landowners that want to be in the project, is there a standard price you pay for that? And I don't care what the price is, I'm asking if it's a standard agreement amongst all of them, or is each one of them negotiating their own price they want for their land that you're gonna put this project on?
It can be negotiated, it's an individual agreement between us and the respective landowners. So there's no set money, hey, this is it, like, absolutely not. There's also other things that will play into it. If you're, for instance, sitting on land that could host a substation, it's a big spot for a substation, obviously the value goes up a bit. It can be circumstance dependent.
So that's a recipe for arguments amongst landowners. And the reason I know that's because I work pipeline construction, and we had land agents going out, and the damages was getting settled, just like you're saying. And so us guys that was actually going to take care of the project in ongoing years caught hell pretty regular about this guy got 5,000, he got 7, and he actually done less work on his place, but he walked the gate off, you know?
You want to see drastic differences with this one. The going rate is already pretty high. It's pretty high for the state of Kansas, or in our own projects and whatnot. So there wasn't, it wasn't like a crazy, it was not a crazy difference.
So you have all the land you need leased already?
Technically by acres, but we won't know for sure because we obviously, when the regulations come out, we'll know what constraints we're operating in. For instance, one of the regulations that's being floated is the acreage cap. So they pick an acreage cap, then we look to do our further diligence with our engineers. Say, okay, look what are our setbacks, what are our exclusion zones, et cetera, and then that's it'll bring it down.
So what do you mean by acreage cap? You're only, I mean, are you gonna have a 4,000 acre project too? Or what do you have to produce the electricity that you're wanting?
It's just the cap that's proposed by the county. So if the county says, hey, we don't want this over 3,000 acres or 4,000 acres, we just have to operate within that constraint. And that doesn't factor in, the setbacks on top of it. So as you take pieces from the pie away, it can draw up to what you'll see as the array. It's not just a single block and it's like this is all going to be solar panels. It just doesn't look like that.
Okay, so you're telling me then we could have a section here, and we can jump a section and then have another section that would be part of this project? Or is this all going to be grouped real tight?
Now, so obviously our goal would be to keep it tight, obviously for collection reasons, the collection cables. But we have to play within the constraints of land. If you have a creek that's running through an area or something, it's going to alter the array. And so, yeah, you will see kind of like puzzle piece matching it. It's not just going to be, all right, I'm looking out and I see a mile of solar panels in perfect array. It just doesn't look like that. Unless you're in the desert. I guess if you're in the desert.
Like in Arizona?
Yeah. But it's not, the land dictates where we can build, and manufacturing the county dictates, and that kind of pieces us together. So,
If you have a 1,000 acre perfect box, how much infrastructure is in that 1,000 acre box? Like, is it half? Is the infrastructure taking up half the acreage?
I guess generally, if it was perfectly buildable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, we can go by a 60% utilization minimum, but that's when you factor in, okay, there's got to be corridors, obviously, if you're running collection and access points. So actually, one thing we're going to go meet with the fire department after this, and fire safety is obviously a thing. So we have to have different access points within the array, comply with the safety measures. So I guess you'd say probably 60%, 70%. But it all depends on
Right.
how things are.
Understood.
And then the other thing I want to just reiterate, obviously, we're still waiting on regulations to be drafted. So it's in no sense is this a done deal. We're doing these sessions to try and just be transparent, raise awareness from our end, and talk through points that we've heard come up. And we just want to give our piece if there's any questions that anyone has in regards to agreements or just anything with the project, I can give you my card. Please reach out, and I will address the questions. I can talk to our subject matter experts. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I'm the developer, you know. I'll piece it together, but I got a robust team with skilled engineers, skilled environmental personnel, skilled land agents, so I can get you those answers.